able to create community and being able to create space for each other in times of need. So our dear friend Kathy from Canada shared with us last week some struggles that she was facing in her hometown. And so there's a few of us that get on the call a couple minutes early just to make sure we're not having technical difficulties. And we wanted to make sure Kathy felt heard and seen. So Kathy, we're so grateful that you're here. But it's 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. My name is Bobby Mann. I'm the Maddie's Human Animal Support Services Pilot Director. And we're so grateful that you're starting your week off with us. But there's nothing better for me than kicking it over to Mary Smith to getting us kicked off with a little bit of Monday motivation.
Good morning, everybody. It's so great to see you. Kathy, thank you so much. I know how hard it was to talk about those just horrific situations and experiences, but I so appreciate you doing that. We continue to see a lot of mass shootings happening throughout the United States. Many more incidences similar to what Kathy talked about are occurring all the time. And yes, it's very hard to figure out how do we pick ourselves up and keep moving forward. And the sad thing is there aren't any easy answers. There's lots of platitudes that we could share, but the reality is we have to figure out what is that thing that keeps us moving. And one of the things that I've been struck with is I've been thinking a lot is what is the primary function of animal welfare? And thinking about that historically, because we've had a chance to listen to some historians recently, it's very different than what we think about today. But the definition that I've latched onto, the thing that makes me feel like I can put one foot in front of the other and continue on this journey, is the idea that the primary function of animal welfare, it's to maintain, support, and strengthen the bonds between people and their companion animals. Now, I'm sure some of you may think, oh, yeah, okay. And others may think, yeah, but really it's all about rehabbing the animals, making sure more animals don't die. We've heard it all. We've done it all. We've embraced those objectives. But I think more and more, we really need to start figuring out a way to put people and pets in our vocabulary, in our protocols, in our approach to the work that we do. Without it, we're doomed. We are just doomed. And I don't mean that to sound an alarm to upset anyone, because really, when I think back over the last 16 months, I am just astounded at the ability of people in animal welfare to pivot, change, recalibrate, find new directions, figure out new solutions, and most important of all, talk about all of the things that don't work, that didn't work, that hadn't worked. Talk about the problems that you're facing where you can't figure out a solution. Just that freaking honesty that each of you bring to calls like this, I'm sure that you bring to your teams, that you bring to your families, that you bring to your neighborhoods. Let's not lose that as we start to figure out what's next. Tomorrow is a big day in California because it's the day when supposedly a light switch goes on and everything is roses and popsicles and little puppies. That's the day when the economy in California is supposed to bounce back. We'll see. But we do know that people are still getting infected, people are still dying, people are still being hospitalized. We know that lots of people aren't vaccinated yet. We're sort of still in the middle of things, but we have a lot of people that are trying to push us to what's next. And that's beautiful, because it's always important for us to have a vision of what we want to do. But at the same time, you all know where you've come from, and you all know where you are. And you all probably have an idea of what that next thing looks like. So believe in yourself, operate from the strength of your convictions, and know that you have the full support of everyone on these calls to help us as we figure out the answer to what's next. So have a great week. We're always here, and we're always here for you. Thanks.
Thanks, Mary. I love it. And I think the beauty of what's next is that we're going to handle those obstacles together, right? And I think that that's for me, the silver lining through all of this is being able to spend time with all of you and getting to learn your stories and getting to know you as just humans and not just animal shelter staff and employees. So before we get to national updates, we did want to also do a bit of a temp check on how things are going in your organizations. On the Friday leadership call, there was a couple of polls that we had shared just to kind of get an idea of how things are going in your shelter. So that way we can make sure that we are creating content that's going to be useful for you as we figure out what the future looks like. So Allison, could we prompt the first poll question, please? So we just want to know, intake at my shelter is, and this is compared to how it's felt over the last year, staying the same, going up a little, going up a lot, going down a little, or other. And we're going to have just give this another second. We're going to prompt one more. We're going to have a few poll questions through the hour, but we're going to do two now, and then we're going to open up the floor for national updates. All right, Allison, can we prompt the second one, please? All right, going up a little. So that is matching the trends pretty much of what we saw on the Friday calls. So let's go to number 2. All right, current pet intake at my shelter is the same as 2019, more than 2019, less than in 2019, or other. And as folks are getting through this question, why don't we go ahead and open up the floor for national updates. Peter, I know that you said you had something, so if you want to maybe kick it off, that'd be great.
Sure. So, and Bethany, I'm not stealing your thunder, I don't think, since this is not a best friends update exactly. This is, and I'm going to see if I can post this in the chat. There we go. National Feline Research Council. This was actually launched, as it happens, right before the pandemic. And so things got kind of knocked sideways and we didn't do a lot of promotion around it. But this was a site launched in response to all the misinformation out there about community cats. It was intended for policymakers and the media. Very, on the one hand, science heavy, lots of citations, but it's written in such a way that we've made it very easy for folks to understand. And as somebody who's on the advisory board, I wanted to share that with folks. So if you have questions about community cats, you hear lots of things about public health threats to wildlife, all those things. All that is addressed on the National Feline Research Council website, and you can even sign up to get updates. We'll be doing regular updates as more studies are published. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. Allison, can we prompt that second poll question, please, or the answer to this poll question? All right, folks are feeling like their intake. Now, we're going to dive into this a little bit as well, probably in the upcoming weeks, about how people are feeling about intake. But I think we're going to have some really exciting topics today, just about how folks are dealing with sort of their managed intake and appointment base, and also things that we can do to help keep pets with their families. So let's keep these national updates going, and then we'll get into our guest speakers.
Hey, Bobby, it's Sharon. I am wondering, hello, how many people are new on the call today? And if you would put that in the chat and say hello, so we can let you know. We have our contest going, and we have a form, if you are new, a form for you to fill out. It's not too late to invite more people to this call and share. Yay, Jonathan, nice to see you. Thanks for joining. Who referred you, Jonathan?
I was looking in, I had met Peter Wolf, and so I started chatting and showed up.
Well done, Peter. Pat on the back.
Sharon, thank you so much to Maddie's and for the amazing contest that you put forward to help build this community. Let's maybe call on one more person. Christy, where are you from? Can you tell us a little about yourself? Awesome, from Tallahassee. And we're going to be hearing from Raul Rodriguez in just a little bit. So I'm super excited to have him on the call as well. And Will, please take a moment to introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Will Lahardy. I'm the marketing communications intern for HASS, and just in general, I'm just kind of the general intern for that and for American Pets Alive. I go to school at the University of Texas at Austin, and I found out about more about American Pets Alive through the pilot shelter in Austin, which is Austin Pets Alive. And I'm really excited to be here and really excited to do some good work with y'all.
Super excited to have you, Will. All right, any more national updates before we move over to an exciting announcement about an upcoming conference?
It's Kathy from Canada. Just a reminder that the Humane Canada's mini event, The Future of Sheltering, is happening this Thursday, the 17th of June. So there's still time to register and the cost is cheap, cheap, cheap. Anyways, get on there and get registered. Thanks, Allison, for putting the info in the chat.
Thanks, Kathy. All right, so I believe Bethany, who has been an amazing part of these Monday calls, has helping with co-facilitation on a lot of our HOS working group, Human Animal Support Services working group, and pilot project interviews, is here to talk to us about the upcoming conference next week for Best Friends, which I am super excited about. So Bethany, I'm going to toss it over to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. And you'll have to bear with me. Mark was supposed to do this segment and has an internet blackout where he's traveling right now. So he's texted me some talking points. So I'll try to make sure to hit all of them. Yes, thanks, Allison, for putting the registration in there. Our conference is going to be June 23rd and 24th. So right after, Kathy, your mini sessions that are coming up. We're definitely in the heart of conference season, just coming off of AWA, the Community Cats Podcast Conference, Kathy, yours, and then ours. So it's a great time of year. This is Best Friends' first virtual conference, and the entire thing will be virtual this year. We really wanted to stress striking a balance of kind of those adaptive leaders that you're used to hearing speak at our conference. Dr. Jefferson, like Brent Tollner is a great example, Bonnie Brown. So we're definitely going to have those folks. We've also added a lot of new speakers that work in different size organizations and different levels within the organization. Because this conference is virtual, we really want to make it accessible for everyone across the country. You can join from your computer. So we wanted to have speakers that represented all different types of roles in sheltering. So we're super excited about that. And just a second, I lost my screen here. I am going to do I have a couple minutes, Bobby, for this?
You do, take your time.
Okay, perfect. We are going to give away a free registration. Registration is $55, but I'm going to ask kind of a trivia question right now. If anyone gets it correct, I can give you a free registration. So our closing session is going to be with Jane Goodall and Julie Castle. And so this question is about Jane. Let's see. So Jane Goodall was inspired for her love from animals from a gift from her father. It was a stuffed animal chimpanzee named Jubilee. But when she often spoke to the animal welfare community, she used a stuffed cow named Mr. Cow and one other stuffed animal. Does anyone know the species and or name of that other animal? I'll keep an eye on the chat. I did not know this one. Any guesses? Okay, I'll keep going, and before the end, if no one's guessed, I'll let you guys know the answer. Good guess, Sharon. It was not a goat. Good guess, though. Okay, so one thing with this virtual conference is we wanted to try to keep it as interactive as possible. So even though the sessions are going to be muted, there is going to be a live chat option during the session. So as you're watching a session, you can type your questions in. And then after each session, you will be able to have a video interaction with the speakers, which is really neat. We wanted to reserve a lot of time for folks to be able to connect directly with speakers and sort of capture what usually happens at the end of a session where you walk up and interact with the speaker, capture that virtually. So we're super excited about that. You'll be able to connect obviously with other attendees and our sponsors there. Best Friends did a big push on CEs. So a lot of our sessions do qualify for CEs in various fields. So that's a new feature to check out from us this year. I'm going to pause for a second because I see the right answer coming in. It was Mr. H and it was a stuffed monkey. And so let me see who did that first. This looks like Linda Lee. You got that correct first. So congratulations, Linda. If you just want to email me, BethanyH@bestfriends.org, I'll pop my email in the chat. I'll get you hooked up with a free registration. Okay. Another session I do want to feature is one of our general sessions. We're super excited about this. We're going to be featuring Selena Davis. She is the CEO of Louisiana Public Health Institute. And she's going to be speaking with us about basic and tangible ways for individuals and organizations to work on diversity. Obviously, diversity, equity, and inclusion are huge in the work that we're doing. And it can be very overwhelming sometimes. So we're excited to be able to sit down with Selena and just really get some tangible things that we can all do right now and can continue to do to make this a focus of our work. So not just the big picture stuff, but really getting into the nitty-gritty actionable items. So we're super excited about that. And let me just make sure I'm capturing everything here. There's a lot of people on the call today that are speaking. So thank you in advance to anyone who is speaking at our conference. We're excited to hear from you again. We've got nearly 100 sessions. I want to say in total, we've got like 135 or 130 different speakers. So we're excited to hear from lots of different folks. We hope you guys get registered. Again, registration is $55. If you're a network partner, you do get a 20% discount. So email bfnetwork@bestfriends.org and we'll get you a code for that. Otherwise, I think I've covered the stuff that Mark was going to cover. I'm happy to take questions and try to answer them if anyone has them. If not, I'm excited to see you guys virtually at conference in addition to these calls.
Well, I am also very super excited, and just echoing what Sharon was saying, we had an opportunity to check out the platform, and it is one of the coolest technologies that I've ever seen. Really excited to also, and honored to be able to be doing a conversation about removing barriers to foster and adoption. So really excited about that. And echoing what Bethany was talking about, the diversity, equity, inclusion work that was done by the association at last week's conference was mind-blowing. It was real. There was people sharing lived experiences. I'm hoping that those recordings, if you purchase, will still be available after. But I also wanted to share sort of my watch of the week. Somebody who I think is doing amazing work, Gabrielle Chapman, who is doing some consulting work for Maddie's Fun, did a recent interview with Justin Marceau. And if you have not had a chance to watch it, I'm going to drop, and I apologize, Allison, if I'm not supposed to put the YouTube link, but this is a direct link to be able to watch it. It really blew my mind, and I think you all should take a little bit of space and give it a go. Oh, thank you so much for that link, Allison.
And Bobby, they can go to the Maddie's Pet Forum to see the conversation that was going on after. And it's still continuing. So Maddie's Pet Forum has that. That's where all the candid conversations are going right after they're aired.
Thank you. And speaking of the forum, we are going to be continuing our conversations from today and the Friday leadership calls on the forums, as well as with links to all the resources there as well. So we hope if you have questions for our speakers after the call, you're able to come visit us on the forum where we're hoping to engage and continue conversations. All right. So hopping into our first speaker, one of the big conversations going around is as our worlds, as Mary said, are reopening, and the concept of appointment-based sheltering is seeming to feel a little more difficult. There are some shelters that are doing a pretty good darn job of having a good system in place to be able to manage large amounts of appointments. So I'm super excited that Raul Rodriguez is here, who is with LA County Animal Services and is the manager of the Palmdale location. So Raul, I would love for you to come on and tell us a little bit about the amazing work you're doing with managing appointments.
Well, good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me all right. I'm honored to be here. My name is Raul Rodriguez, and like Bobby said, I'm the Animal Control Manager for the Palmdale Care Center here in LA County. I would like to share my screen. I hope I can do this. All right. Can you see my screen? I hope you do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Um, there you go. Okay, so I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how LA County managed to work through the appointment system and through managed intake when it comes to our communications with the public. As we all know, COVID-19 hit us really hard back in March. To be exact, March 16 of 2020 is when we went into lockdown and we stopped working with the public as far as bringing them into the care centers. And we had to start working on some kind of communication, how to communicate with the public. Once we close our care centers to the public, we began to receive many inquiries about dogs and cats via phone, and our regular field services came through the phone. We switched to all communications trying to be done through the website and through phones, but we were not ready for it. We had to create a system for us to all be able to do this. Our plan when it comes to communicating with the public was first to create a communications team. This communications team was in charge of to improve the efficiency of the use of the communication center and improve the efficiency of our website. Our communication plans had to be innovative, progressive, and engaging. So our engaging the community, we were doing it through managed intake, taking that proactive messaging out there, but through our website, we needed to be done more focused and more intentional. We had a good friend, a journalist, that he came to us as a consultant. He offered his services. He's a friend of the department, but he was a very strong critic also when it comes to things that are not running well. So we asked for the help. And let me tell you something, we learned a big lesson. When you ask for a sincere critique, you have to be ready for it, because sometimes it's painful to hear what you're going to hear. But he helped us. He looked at our website and he gave so good points about our message is not being communicated right with the community. So I want to walk you through the website. I don't have the old website that we used to have, the one that was critiqued, but I can take you to our website here. And if my link works, for some reason there's a delay here. Everything is perfect until it is not perfect anymore. Let me take you, I hope you continue to see my...
Yeah, we can still see your screen, Raul. And actually, this is a perfect time. As you're pulling that up, our third poll question actually touches on appointment-based services. So Allison, as Raul is getting his website ready, would you mind prompting that for us, please? Awesome. So at my shelter, we are open admission with immediate intake of animals, open admission with scheduled or appointment-based intake, limited admission with scheduled or appointment-based intake, or other. So Raul, go ahead and get your stuff ready, and we'll give the crew just a minute to answer this question.
Sounds good. Okay, so this is our website now.
So Raul, I think currently I'm still seeing the PowerPoint. Is everybody else still seeing the PowerPoint? So maybe if you want to unshare your screen for a moment and pull it, and then just pull up the website, that might help. And then as you're doing that, Allison, if you want to prompt the perfect open admission with schedules or appointments. Perfect. So this is the right presentation for the right audience.
Can you see it now?
No, I think you might have to switch screens.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So there is the website. And I just want to bring to your attention a few pointers that it was important for us. As you navigate through the website and you go to animal care centers, as you can see here is highlighted, we wanted to make it easier for people to find our care centers. But the first thing that you see here is all visits are by appointment only. We needed to communicate that message. And since I'm the manager for the Palmdale Animal Care Center, I'm going to take you there. So it was important for us for you for the public to have all the correct information, address, phone number, email to the care center, but also another section here for appointment request. Because we were doing everything by appointment only, we wanted to make it easier for the public to be able to make their appointment. And if you click here on appointment request, it will take you to the email, and that's where you will request one. Um, when it comes to services, we initiated taking payments online, payments like for license renewals and things of that nature. So we implemented the pay online and the service request. This is one of the most important ones for us. Service requests make it easier for people to communicate with us to request service. Now, if you go to that link, what we do have is this is the way that people can do it for non-emergency situations only. If there is an emergency with an animal, then we're asking people to communicate directly with communication center to make it easier, faster, and so we can respond. But if it's a non-emergency situation to which we have a list here of the possible types of call that people can place, then we encourage people to come to the website and submit their request this way. Once they submit a request, then all we need is basic information, the address where the problem is, the near cross streets, and some detailed description of the situation, um, detailed description of the animals involved. We do need the name and address and phone number and email of the person placing the complaint in case we have some kind of question. Once this form is submitted, this form goes directly to the communication center. Communication center triages all the calls that come through this service request. And whatever needs to be written for an officer to go out on the field, it will be then dispatched to them. And everything else is distributed among the animal care centers for review and for response. Our staff at the care centers take care of either responding via email or making a phone call, depending on the situation, or scheduling the, the appointments. Now, I'm going to try to go back to my presentation here. I hope I can do that.
Perfect.
You're there, okay? Okay. So that was with the website when it comes to that. But once the appointments go to the care center or the requests go to the care center and the care center has to do the appointment, then I'm sorry. Let me give you some stats here before we go there. Service requests pre-COVID. This happened between the year 2019, the entire year, and the beginning of 2020 up to March 16. And if you can see some numbers here, our highest intake of calls was the code is 979, which is barking complaints. We had 1,536 complaints come in. After that, we have the humane calls, and which are investigations. These two, humane and the 905, is investigations. Um, and the third type of call is disease animals. Then all the rest was confined animals and things of that nature prior to COVID. In comparison, if we go to the next slide, post COVID-19, we went from March 16, 2020 until May of this year. If we look at the graphic, we don't see much of a difference. On both of them, we have over 3,000 calls placed. Barking complaints are still the highest number of complaints that we receive. We had to stop responding to barking complaints for about 3 months after March, but then we started responding to those calls again via mail, and we figure a way to do contactless service when it comes to this type of complaint. As you can see, our humane investigations stayed up there. And again, 3 months after COVID-19 hit is when we started trying to see how we can do investigations without really making a lot of contact with the public. But when it comes to intake, and that's why I want to take you to the other screen, to the next stat, because we had to start doing appointments and at the care centers. Every call that is not written in the field goes to the care center. And these numbers here will tell you, I'm trying to make it easier to read, but in the month of January of this year, this is just for my care center. By appointments, we were able to place 118 animals on adoption. we were able to return to owner 39 animals, and we placed with rescue 38. The other type of appointments were licensed, medical foster vouchers. Um, we schedule 3 dogs to come on a stray, and owner surrenders, we took in 9 dogs. Everything else was not done by appointment. We did have some room for emergencies. Like, for example, we had a gentleman that was moving and he showed up with his U-Haul truck full of things and his German Shepherd, and he was on his way to Colorado. And so we took the dog in because we had no other option, but just in extreme cases. February, uh, same numbers. I mean, the numbers went up. If you can see in this graphic down below here, uh, these are the days of the week. And the advantage with the appointment system is that we are able to pick and choose what days we want to be busy and what days we don't want to be that busy in accordance to our staffing levels. This is a huge advantage of being able to schedule it. So our heaviest days are Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's when we have the most staffing levels. And the weekend is when we have the least. So that's when we schedule less. Adoptions were 107, 46 are returned to owners, and to rescue were 27. And owner surrenders, we took in 17 and 6. That was in February. Then we have March. The numbers, as you can see, start going up as we are able to manage better our schedule system. But we are getting the animals out in this way, but it's control. We know what we're doing and when we're doing it. We know when we're receiving animals and we're getting ready for it. The advantage of doing appointment system for intakes, especially in owner surrenders, is that it gives us the time to plan the outcome. We start contacting rescues in advance. We start contacting other contacts in advance, letting them know that a German Shepherd is coming with this. This is the age. These are the issues. This is the reason why the owner is surrendering. And in many cases, we didn't even have to take the animal in. We put in contact the rescue and the owner, and they did the swap right there without us being involved. During the month of April, um, it's pretty much the same as you can see, and I have the breakdowns by appointments per day. Our average appointment is between 8 and 9 all the time per day. Of course, we have the heaviest days, and this is the totals. These are the totals that we have done since January until end of May. We have done adoptions of 167 animals, our return to owners 221, rescue 163 animals placed. Um, Strays, we took in 30, and on surrenders, we took 85 on appointments. Um, so overall, this is a big glance of data that I can share with you when it comes to our appointment system. And the reason why we do it that way is because definitely we're redefining the way that we want to approach this issue. And we have found that this is an excellent way to manage it through manage intake and manage appointments. So moving forward, this is our new normal. We're going to continue this system, and probably we're going to just continue to improve it in order to service our community better, to service our animals better, to provide the capacity for care that we can. Our experience has been that animals that in the past, 2019, we were not able to pay too much attention to them. We couldn't work with them longer, and they didn't make it outside the care center. Nowadays, we can work with them closely. We don't do behavior modification, but we work with them to a level where if an animal was a rescue only, after working with them, it became like maybe the only dog in the household, and that made it easier for the animal to get out and things of that nature. So I know I only have 15 minutes. I didn't time myself.
Oh, you're doing great. Can I ask one clarification question, Ro? The data that you're sharing with the approximate 3,000 calls, is that for your Palmdale location only, or is that for all of the
No,
shelters?
that's the 7 care centers.
Okay.
That's the 7 care centers. About 3,300 calls that come in our triage, and they were dispatched to officers. The other good thing about the way that we're doing business now is that the first 3,000 calls was very hard to deal with because of the emergencies that come every day. So our pending calls was always high because we couldn't respond to all calls in a proper manner. Now that we are in this system, officers have more time to attend to the calls because they're very selective in how we handle them. our humane investigations have come down tremendously. I used to have in Palmdale, for example, I used to have a pending calls of about 50 to 80 a day, waiting for response that we couldn't respond the day before. Now, when we are there in the morning at 7, the calls are down to 14, 10, and it's very easy for the officers to respond to all calls during their shift. And this has created a better customer service, a better service to the community, more time to engage with the community and engage with the cities, with our contract cities and events where we can showcase also the animals that we have at our care center and representing with the officers together with the sheriff department. We do a lot of activities now with the cities. We redirect some of the duties of the kennel attendants when our population became less. Now they are part of their assignments is to make the phone calls, to talk to people, to do the counseling when it comes to adoption. A lot of times we schedule an animal to be adopted. It's not a good match because now the kennel attendants have more knowledge of our animals in the kennels. They can do a match. And sometimes they came for one dog and they live with a different dog, but we were able to do a match. And all of those things we are now able to do because we can schedule and take the time with the customer and create a successful adoption and without a return. Our return rate has gone tremendously down.
That's so amazing here. Raul, is this your last slide? If it is, then I'll ask you to unshare your screen because I'm sure there'll be a couple questions before we move on to our next speaker.
Yes, sir. I'm new to Zoom. Let me unshare, but I don't
There
know.
should be a button, like a big red button up top that says unshare when you're scrolling over it. Yeah.
Right there.
There you go. So a question that I have for you, Raul, is I really love the strategy that you took of increasing your scheduling volume based off of your staffing. How did you decide what was an adequate amount of appointments based off of the amount of staff that you had?
Yes, that's a great question. What we did is that we just estimated the length of time that an appointment will take depending on what it was. Our staff was reduced significantly because we wanted to make sure that there was no contact with too many staff because of COVID. So what we did is that we established that when we had more staff, we will do more appointments. We start doing appointments from 8 in the morning all the way to 6 p.m. And we scatter them that way depending on what it is. We cross-train staff so they learn how to do adoptions in the computer, how to do different things. So that way we increase our rate of customer service and faster service. So it was basically trying to cross-train everybody first and then provide the service to the public.
Thank you. Peter?
Yeah, so I may have missed this. So I think it's pretty clear how managed admission affects obviously intake and potentially outcomes. I got lost a little bit on the last point about like how has this resulted in a reduction in investigations when officers come in first thing in the morning. You said it went from like 50 plus down to like 10 or so. Like how is the managed intake connected to that? I lost that part.
Yeah, I apologize about that. No, it's not investigation. It's the number of calls that we find in the morning to go and respond to. It can be investigations, or it can be diseased animals, or it can be confined animals. It's just that we are now better, faster responding to the community, but it's not precisely investigations. The number of investigations remain the same as far as calls coming in, but we're faster now in response time.
Thank you, Peter. Raul, we have about 30 seconds, and I would love you to get through this one last question. So if y'all think that Hollywood critics are bad, you've never met LA animal advocates because they are tough on their shelters. So Raul, can you tell us really quickly how this change management has gone for your community and how you're communicating that to make sure that people are comfortable with going to appointment-based?
Yes, the community, the large section of the community were in agreement with us. The first concern was what's going to happen with the animals that you're not intaking, right? But we got together, we created a partnership with rescue groups and community leaders and Facebook advocates. And what ended up happening is that they help us promote if an animal was found in a certain area, like there's Nextdoor app, that dog ran away from home very close to where it was found. And what happens now is that we are able to connect owners with people who found animals without the need of the animals coming into the care center. So the community, it took a while, but they're supportive. They are with us. The rescue groups especially are with us, working hard. And so it has become a partnership.
I love it. Thank you so much, Raul. And one quick last shout out for you and to Maddie's Fund. Maddie's Fund is so invested in professional development. They are also sponsoring the Cal Animals Emerging Leaders Program, which Raul is a shining rock star in that group as well. So Raul, thank you so much for being here today. And we hope you can join us on future calls as well.
Oh, thank you very much for the opportunity. Take care.
Awesome. So as we talk about managed intake, it's not just about scheduling appointments. It's about how do we provide resources to our community to be able to allow them to support themselves as well. So I'm super excited that Casey Adair from Greenville County Animal Care and also Liana Moss from the Human Animal Support Services Project here is to talk about their self-supported rehoming and a new collaboration that's about to start.
Hi, everyone. We are so excited to be here. Happy Monday. As Bobby said, my name is Liana Moss, and I am the Human Animal Support Services Keeping Families Together Implementation Coordinator. And I work with Casey very regularly, not only in her role as the pilot shelter at Greenville, but also in our working group of keeping families together with Haas. So a lot of what you're going to hear today was born out of that working group, and we encourage anyone to join if you're interested. Casey, I will let you introduce yourself, and I'm going to get the slides up.
Awesome. My name is Casey. I work for Greenville County Animal Care. I am the case manager for Pet Support Services. I'm in both the Keeping Families Together working group and the rehoming with or self-supported rehoming working group. So I do both of those here. And today I'm going to talk about the supported self-rehoming aspect and what we do here. So, all right, so for here, we use Rehome at Adopt a Pet and we use Home to Home. And we use them both closely. So people, when they go to our website, they actually have the option to choose which one they want to do. For us, an average length of stay for an animal, and it does come in the shelter, is about 7 days, which does cost us, you see, almost $500 for cost of care. With the Home to Home program, we don't pay for that. So the person posting it on there, they don't have to pay anything. The person adopting from there, they don't have to pay anything either. That is free for them. And then we offer them a spay neuter package so that we can ensure that we're, getting everything altered and vaccinated at the time of surgery. We also do a microchip and a pet hub ID tag for them in case the pet gets lost. That costs us only about $50 because we do it in our clinic. So that's a huge cost saving versus if it comes in. For Adopt a Pet, it doesn't cost us anything and it doesn't cost the person that is posting an animal on there anything, but it does cost the adopter a fee. And I do believe when they first post the animal on there, they get to choose between a couple of options. And then they are required to get that animal spayed or neutered as well, but they have to pay for that. So these are some stats for us. And right now you see August of 2020 through May of 2021. That is because that is when we started Home to Home. We have used Rehome at Adopt a Pet since 2017, I believe. And you'll see there's a huge difference in the numbers and how many animals are posted to each site. The reason is I manage the Home to Home site, and so we're completely involved in all of that. So whenever someone calls or they email saying that they want to rehome a pet, I actually make them go and post their animal on our Home to Home page. I ask them what their time frame is, how long they have, different situations. Obviously, we may have to take something in sooner than other ones. So I base off their appointment off of what information they give me. If the animal has aggression issues or anything like that, we go ahead and take the animal in. If they're being evicted and they have a little bit of time, whether that's 3 days or 2 weeks, I have them put it on the site so that we can try to help it find a home before it comes in. or find a rescue group that may be able to take it as soon as it comes in so that we don't have to have the animal in our facility. So for us, we believe the reason that home to home is so successful is because we have dedicated staff. So in this case, it's me. I do the home to home page. I am in constant contact with every owner that puts their pet on home to home. So I go on there, I read what their bio is that they put on there. I make sure that there's a picture on there. If there's at least one picture on there and there's some words, I will go ahead and approve it. I then go back and text them and get more information. So I ask all the basic questions that most people are going to ask when they come in our facility to adopt a pet, so that we're giving them the most information that we can. I tell everybody that it needs to look like a dating profile, because you want to grab attention. You want all of the great stuff first, and then the not so great stuff that people may have to work with. You want it on there too, but you want it well written and you want it towards the end. So by the time they get that far, they're already sold on the animal. So then we go into that. Obviously, if people want help keeping their pet, instead of approving the post, I will actually reach out to them and offer different solutions that we can do with our Keeping Families Together program. Everyone does have to schedule an appointment for an owner surrender. We do leave some space so that if someone comes here and they can't take their pet back for whatever reason, we can go ahead and take those in. But for the most part, they're all directed to one place so that we can make sure that we're helping them in the best way. And I really feel like, it's successful because people want to feel like they're being helped, right? So if you have someone that is constantly talking to them and checking in with them, even if it's just a, hey, how's it going? Is your pet getting any interest? Are you getting contacts? Maybe we should do this. They feel like they're not alone, and they're more likely and more willing to put the work into finding a new home for their pet. So, bottom line is, with using these rehoming programs, we have cut back the amount of animals that are coming in. So although we are taking in almost as many animals, if not more, some days as we did in 2019, if we didn't have this program in place, we would be taking in way more animals than we actually are. So you'll see here, like August 20th through May 21st, 735 dogs would have been surrendered to our facility. Instead, we took in 410. And although that's a lot, that's way less than what it would have been. And with cats, it's the same way. 603 cats would have been brought in instead of 305. That's almost cutting down what surrenders would have came in by half. I think I covered everything on the last part.
Just to jump in on a little bit of math, and my math is so bad, but we took the cost of care for the average length of stay, which we mentioned earlier, which was $475. We're going to focus on dogs. 325 dogs were not surrendered due to the program that Casey and her team have in place. That would equate to $154,375. Now you got to subtract the cost for spay neuter at Casey's facility with the 211 dogs adopted through home to home. And that equates to about $143,000 in savings. Obviously, this is not taken directly from any report, but this is a general estimation, and that's a very good chunk of money. Okay, so what's next? Folks mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, what is next in animal welfare and how can we best support each other and do it together? Casey brought to us kind of a challenge she's facing, which is that many of her clients are coming into the shelter, contacting her with their mind already made up. They've got a dog they can no longer handle. And for the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to focus on dogs and you'll see why. But they have a dog that they can't handle, that they can no longer care for, and they come to her kind of in crisis. We're not talking about a crisis of housing, a crisis of medical or eviction. We're talking about kind of an emotional crisis, a tipping point. Very often we all reach the end of our rope at some point in time. And these folks are coming there. So how can we meet folks in crisis, pause, reset, and avoid that preventable surrender? So my background, some of you know, is in social work. So I really try to think of some of our biggest issues in animal welfare, our biggest challenges, biggest barriers from the social welfare, social work perspective. There's something called respite care in child welfare that many of you may have heard of, specifically in foster care. Respite care is a temporary break given to caretakers that provides a period of rest and renewal. Scheduling time for respite care allows primary caregivers to keep families from becoming overwhelmed by their many ongoing responsibilities. It's imperative for all families to take time to refuel and re-energize. Often when the children are in respite, they are able to build healthy relationships with other children in foster care, pursue a special interest, or have fun doing an activity they enjoy. They get the opportunity to build onto their social skills and self-esteem. So good for the parents, good for the families, and good for the kiddos. So in our rest, reset, respite care future program model, owners would get a 3 to 5 day break and animals temporarily would stay at a training facility. Now, to note, this program could be adapted in the future to, if you had capacity, house animals in foster with training or house animals actually in the shelter with training, but we understand capacity is a challenge. This 3 to 5 day break allows time for owners to think about the decision they've made. Frankly, they're gonna go home to an empty house. And for anybody that's owned a pet, that's really challenging to come home to a quiet house. And I always joke that one of the best pieces of advice that my mom ever gave me was to sleep on it. Sleep on any big decision. We are now creating 3 to 5 days of sleeping on it. And hopefully that allows people to really delve into their decision making without the stress of the animal or the responsibilities they're in around them. And also this allows time for the shelter to plan an intake to placement. So while this animal is at a training facility being seen, Casey has time to look for not only a foster, but a rescue or even an adoption placement with somebody who's been looking for exactly that animal. It's going to happen a lot quicker and with a lot less resources than if the animal were to come to the shelter. And we're spending $475 on that 7-day average stay. So now for the dog would get an evaluation, behavior evaluation. Training would start. Believe me, I know nothing is fixed in 3 to 5 days. I'm not suggesting that. But at least this is a start. And especially if this is just some simple manners and behavior, dogs learn really fast. And maybe 3 to 5 days would start to give a dog a foundation to develop future skills. And there's a creation of a behavior modification and training plan. So for beyond that training facility, but when the dog goes back home or goes with a future adopter, there's a plan of how we can get an animal to be the happiest and best it can be. And that training plan would go together if those families come back together at the end. The benefits here. Obviously, keeping families together is a huge benefit. We know the emotional, mental, physical components and benefits that go into keeping pets with their people. If we can preserve that human-animal bond, that's exceptional. There's a cost-saving component for the shelter, especially when we're talking about behavior dogs and large dogs. So often when I talk to many of you at our tier 1 and tier 2 shelters, I hear the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges I should say you're facing is large dogs, behavior dogs, spending a lot of time either in shelter or in foster or being unable to find a foster for those animals. And that's really challenging. If we can keep those pets with their people, we won't even need to find a new placement. So this could also prevent overcrowding post-COVID. As we saw in Casey's numbers, as some of you are saying in the poll earlier about seeing an increase of year-over-year stats from May 2019 to now May 2021, we are seeing a lot more interventions of keeping animals out of the shelter, but we're seeing either similar numbers or increased numbers. And And this could be the next component in preventing overcrowding and, as we know, all of the challenges that come with that. The most exciting thing here is Casey and Shelly and her team have taken the leap, and they've taken this nugget of an idea created in a working group and immediately jumped on and said, we'll pilot that. It's Bobby's clapping. To our knowledge, it hasn't been done. If it's been done at your shelter, let us know. We want to hear about it. But they're taking this amazing leap, and they're going to pilot it. So the program's in development. We don't have intricate details for you because we're still working on it. We are going to be developing SOPs and different program components as we go forward. Casey is already contacting some organizations in her community in Greenville that she has existing partnerships with, who might be able to jump on and be that training facility that is willing to take these animals in. So very big thank you to Greenville, not only for all they've done with this supported self-rehoming program, but for being so willing to be innovators in the field. Okay.
Liana and Casey, thank you so much. I'll just echo what I've seen in the chat. Incredible statistics. And Shelly, I know you like to let your staff shine and not take up space, but I'd love to just call on you as well as a leader for being here. One, when your staff come to you with ideas, you allow them to implement and try. And that's why people like Casey can be so amazing at their jobs. But could you share with us just what have those statistics meant for you when you're going into budget season and being able to articulate the value of having staff actually focus on these types of programs?
Yeah, Bobby, that's a good question, and it's a really good point to make. And I didn't quite catch all of the monetary statistics that y'all put in there as far as cost savings, but when I'm thinking about what it's going to cost to take care of these animals and how many staff I need, and I think we're all probably experiencing a staffing shortage, or many of us are, it just makes sense. I know I've heard a lot of folks say we don't have enough staff to be able to start these new programs, but this is one that if you dedicate that person to, you're going to see the results well, you should. If you do it as we're suggesting, I think that you would see those benefits. And so, I know what it costs for an animal to come in and all of the expenses to adopt that animal or do whatever with that animal. And if I take the success of this program over the last 10 months and I multiply that by that amount, that is way more than what, probably 4 or 5 times more than what an individual employee is going to cost the organization to dedicate to this. And Casey, when she, prior to taking on her new role, she was in an administrative support. She was in an administrative support role. And so we just took that opportunity while we had a little bit of downtime with COVID and moved her over to this. And it's been a huge cost savings for our shelter. So I think that's the big takeaway. And if you didn't catch it, less than 10% of the pets that enter through our self-rehoming program and end up being surrendered. And that's a huge number to keep in mind, less than 10%. And, we've done over 600, I think, that we've posted on home to home. And I believe that includes rehome by Adopt a Pet.
It's amazing. And Shelly, one of the last things I'll leave this conversation with is you were sharing some data with me about how long it really took for the program to pick up. And it was about 2 months until we saw some real numbers of support happening. So if you are giving it a try, make sure you stick with it. Make sure you find a staff member that not only loves animals, but wants to work with people and honor that human-animal bond. So to you and your organization, thank you, Liana, Raul, everyone that was here today. We have one last quick poll question that we want to prompt, which is just talking about what your biggest challenges are. So Allison, if you can pop that up for us. And as you are answering that question, I'm going to toss it over to Mary Smith to close us out.
Thanks, Bobby. And thanks everybody today. So I have a word for you. It's called surthrival. It's surviving and it's thriving. And it's, so here's the definition: just making ends meet, yet flourishing as a person. Finding time for growth under harrowing circumstances. I can't think of a better description of anything that we've all experienced the last 16 months. Also, meeting life's most unwelcome challenges with gusto and panache, and my personal favorite, existential heroes. So go out this week, my existential heroes, and do heroic things. Thank you all. Have a great week.
Thanks, everyone.